The ninth presentation is from Ms. Kyoka Ike and Ms. Tomoko Yamada. Please start.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Tomoko and Kyoka from the Best Publisher Japan. The book we'd like to introduce is this one. "中学生になったら," which means when you become a junior high school student, written by Satoshi Miyashita. Have you heard of Ion number 28 and Astro Boy? Well, let us introduce them briefly. Ion number 28 is a main character in a cartoon called Ion number 28. And Astro Boy was created by Osamu Tezuka, who is known as the godfather of manga in Japan.
Although they are both robots, there is one huge difference between Ion number 28 and Astro Boy. Can you guess what that is? Here is the answer. Why Ion number 28 can only move when he is controlled by humans, Astro Boy can take action on his own will and has emotions like humans. In other words, he feels joy, sadness, and fear. As Astro Boy has control over himself, he can follow his own belief compared to Ion number 28, who has no choice but to follow the instructions of his owner.
Now you may be thinking like, why are they talking about these robots? Well, actually, the character plays a key role in the book. The author calls on the reader to be Astro Boy. Of course, it's not like telling them to become robots. It means that you are the one who has control over your own life. Throughout this book, Miyashita highlights the importance of becoming like Astro Boy, giving some ideas for children. So now, we'd like to pick up 3 fascinating ideas from them.
The first one is about learning. What is learning, and why do we learn? In the book, Miyashita said that learning is similar to eating. Just like the cycle that we eat foods from a desire, get satisfied, and have energy to live, learning should be fun and helpful, not forced. In today's world, however, the essence of learning seems to have been forgotten. Children are urged to get high scores on tests, compared with others, and measured by visible things. How fast they can learn or how many things they have done is not important. Learning is experiencing. It's not just a thing that you learn at school. We'd like to let children in the world know that you can learn and keep learning in many places in your daily life at your own pace, which makes your life enriched and more enjoyable. And even if you make mistakes and feel depressed, what you've learned will support you and help you to move forward. The second one is about working. Work is hataraku in Japanese. And this is represented by the Chinese character, which means work. And Miyashita said that there is another way of expressing hataraku in his book, and this one. This means beside, and this means happy or comfortable. So working is making people happy or comfortable beside them. So working is not just earning money, but supporting each other in many ways, in many places. People can work in different ways, even children can. For example, a child helped his mother to wash dishes, and she said thank you to her son. He works for her because he makes his mother happy. Even babies can work as they make people comfortable with an adorable smile. So working is, in other words, is becoming something precious to someone, which means every person is valuable and indispensable. You support others, and you're supported by others.
The last one is about designing your life. Designing your life. It doesn't mean that you have to make plans of life in advance. For example, you make a perfect plan, like after graduating from high school, you go to a good university, get a good job, and get married at an ideal age with an ideal partner. Miyashita reminds us that life doesn't always turn out to be the way you want. Of course, it is important that you think about your future seriously and work hard to achieve your dreams. There are certainly some people whose lives go the way as they planned. But, things change. When you have to make a choice, there's no guarantee that you have the same conditions or environment as you planned. Changing your way doesn't mean you failed in your life. Miyashita insists that it is more important to be flexible in order to make the best decision at the time. And it's perfectly okay to go a different way from others, because you are the writer of the story in which you are the hero or heroine. And he calls it designing your life.
The aforementioned 3 points, learning, working, and designing your life, are essential for children to be respected as human beings with their feelings or will, and allow them to find their own happiness. And these are included in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, or UNCRC, which was passed by the United Nations in 1989. It has 54 articles that cover all aspects of a child's life and set out the civil, political, economic, social, cultural rights that all children everywhere are entitled to. Miyashita mentions this truly in the last section of his book, pointing out that few children in the world enjoy their lives in reality. Whatever their ethnicity, gender, religion, language, abilities, or other status, every child has a right to live her own life. It has to be understood by all people in the world so that all children can become like Astro Boy. From the title, you might think that this book is only for children. But as you can see, children need understanding and support from adults, such as parents and teachers. So we'd like to recommend this book to not only children, but those people who are dedicated to helping children in the world.
Children are our future. What if they're like iron number 28, always getting direction from adults? Without that direction, they'll be like robots without a controller. Miyashita says in his book that anyone can be anything, and you are the one who has control over your own life, like Astro Boy. What would our future be like if children could work to helping others, not just for their own benefit? What would our future be like if children knew the joy of learning, not having to be forced? What would our future be like if children could design their life based on their own inner voice, not on others? That would be a future that we would all wish for. Let's share this book with leaders overseas. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Ms. Ike and Ms. Yamada. And now to the judges for questions.
Thank you very much for your fascinating presentation. I especially liked the picture of having your heart on your own palm. I wish I could do that. When you think about marketing this book, do you have any particular parts of the world in mind? Do you have any idea about the sort of countries in which this kind of thinking might be needed most? Do you have in mind, for example, developed countries like the United States, Britain, or Japan? Or do you have in mind some of the developing countries? Or do you have in mind some of the countries in which there is a considerable degree of oppression of personal rights, be it the rights of adults or children?
Well, education is a common issue all over the world. So we'd like to send this book to all people around the world. So any country who are interested in education, who have their children. So our answer is any country with their children.
Actually, when I asked you that question, I had one country in mind, for example, where I served as ambassador to Pakistan, for example, where children are not given enough opportunities for education and so forth. And I also had another country in mind, which is Japan. Talking about education, would you like to comment on that? Especially on Japan?
Especially on Japan?
Yeah. Do you think that this kind of approach is needed in the context of Japanese education?
Yes, of course. We'd like to recommend this book to not only foreigners but also Japanese people, because children in Japan are, as I mentioned, are asked to get high scores on tests and always kind of in competition. So children have to study, not for joy or what they want to do. So yes, this book is needed for Japanese people as well. Yes, thank you.
Adding to it, it is important that this book comes from Japan, because in Japan there is kind of a sense that children have to go like desired course. So it is important that we send this book. This book is important in Japan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now to the second judge.
Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. So I think the educational aspects are greatly emphasized in your book. So my question is, the first question is clarification. So what is the main target reader group for your book? Because is it a book for the young individual readers or a parent and child to read together?
Well, this book is originally targeted for young children, individual, but as I mentioned, children need supporting, need understanding and support from adults. So we'd like to recommend this book to not only young people, but adults, such as parents or teachers.
Thank you very much. My second question is that it's about the translation itself. So the story in your book is also has a lot of things related to ethical values. So what do you think is the most difficult but important thing to translate such a Japanese story to English, so that the Western readers unfamiliar with Japanese values can be attracted by your book? Because when you translate a book which has a lot of cultural factors, simple translation does not work oftentimes. So what do you think is a very, very important thing to take into account when you do translation?
Well, okay. First.
Well, I think my idea is that asking a translator who understands Japanese culture and the culture that we are sending, the book is translated. So we need expert translator who understands both countries' culture.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, judges, for the interesting questions. And now we'll move to the audience. Does anyone in the audience have a question? Okay, there's a gentleman here who has a question.
So my name is Zenjiro Yano, so from Tokyo University of Science. So I'm interested in about working. So happy besides working. Yeah. So please tell me the one sentence which you were impressed with. So about working. So in this novel,
book?
in this book, yeah, one sentences.
Well, it's in Japanese, so maybe it's not appropriate translation. But I was impressed by the sentence that, as I mentioned, working is making people happy or comfortable beside them. So working is not just earning money, and it's not just earning money, but helping others and supporting each other in many kinds of situations. So I was very impressed by the sentence.
Thank you. Thank you for asking, answering.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
And thank you, Ms. Ike and Ms. Yamada, for a wonderful presentation.
ありがとうございました。